Hi, this is Spencer and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm hanging a York non-woven wallpaper. It's unique, this job is, because of the substrate. Yes, you're looking at wood, birch plywood. Question number one. Can you hang wallpaper on wood? Question number two. If so, is there any special treatment you have to do to the wood before you proceed? So these are the new feature walls in entertainment rooms and man caves. We go from that wall to its opposite counterpart, and we have to treat the seams on the wood. First, by filling in the wood with an expandable filler. After that dries, this is almost like bubble gum. You can't spread this out with a knife. So we have filled the wood, and this will accommodate expansion and contraction. But what about this? What about that? Here's one right here, where you can see the bump. What do I do with that? Step two. We're going to coat this with a penetrating sealer. Anybody know what I'm talking about from previous videos? What's the best thing you can put on wood to arrest the stains from the natural knots? Bin, B-I-N. It's a natural product that you can use indoor and outdoor. That's going to seal the wood. Third, for my seams, I'm going to put a thin layer of joint compound over the bin. And then I'm going to hang the paper. Paper's easy to hang. It's what you have to do to get there. Okay, I'll take you to the next frame. This is what we'll be sealing the wood. Now, this is a shellac. And I'm telling you, the wood will become like sheetrock after this is put on. Whatever you do to sheetrock, you can do to this. You can paint it, you can put wallpaper on it, you could even texture it. How's that? This stuff is from heaven. In the UK, I like the term for it. It's called an emulsion paint. Emulsion. It's a sealer. It penetrates the wood. It's thin. It's not cheap. And it doesn't come without an odor, but it's the best. Let's get it on this plywood, huh? So if you're going to be using this for the first time, make sure you stir it. Because at the bottom of it is where all the good stuff is. Okay, and be careful with it. It's super thin and it splashes all over the place. So you want to have a glove on. And if you're using this and you're not familiar with it, this is a little thicker than water. Watch this. You don't want that much of this paint on this roller. So I'm pressing it down, because when I get to the substrate, I don't want it dripping all over the place. Notice I'm not going too fast. You pay a heavy price if you go fast with this stuff. Take your time. Guys, this is around one of the only times you can use the excuse with your wife. Hey, it took a long time. Spencer said I have to go slow here. Okay? Because, let me show you what'll happen if you go fast. Watch this. Take a look at the bottom. See it all coming off? Please remember, go slow. Nice and slow. When we mask to protect the walls outside of the wallpaper job, outside of where we're painting with this bin, we want to use caulking so that we don't get that paint underneath the tape. It helps prevent bleeding. You can see how the second coat really does the trick, so to speak. That's one coat. This is two. I'm telling you, treat it just like sheetrock. And by the way, get all the sides. If you leave a door or a piece of plywood like this exposed to the elements, you can expect more expansion and contraction on the entire 4-foot length. But if you seal this below and you seal the one on top, you'll be much better off. Although I don't really care for these mud pans, I got myself a mud pan because I used my helpers yesterday and I found that it's not so bad, but it's not something I'm going to use quite often. This I will. This is new on the market, 8-inch. And it's stainless steel. And look at this. It's flexible. You can't get a stainless steel that's too thick because it's like using a butter knife to spread compound. You need flex in your taping knives in order for you, the installer, to determine how much mud goes on the wall. If it's too thick, the knife is determining how much mud goes on the wall. And you don't want that. So now, you see that line? If I don't make that flat, you're gonna see that. Same thing over here. I'm waiting for this alcohol-based sealer to dry up, and then we're going to put joint compound right on the line. Now, remember, this is wood. There's a big mystery about putting wallpaper on wood. Okay, you can do it. How do I know that? Where does paper come from? Wood, right? What is on sheetrock over the gypsum? Paper, right? Where does paper come from? Wood, right? Can you put wallpaper over sheetrock? Yes. Can you put wallpaper over wood? If you treat it right, yes. Okay. Now we're going to treat this like it's sheetrock. We're going to seal that seam up, make it look nice and flat, and hang out wallpaper and get out of here. Don't fall for it. Don't fix that. Don't fix it when it's wet. Resist the temptation. Okay, trust me. Wait till that gets hard and just either sand it or take the palm of your hand and sand it with your rough palm. That's it. That seam is done. Spencer, what are you going to prime your mud with after this stuff dries? Now, if we have bin on it already, and it dries really quickly, why would we change it up? we're going to use bin again. Okay. A little too thick there. Okay, be honest. Who thought you needed wood filler for this? Who thought you needed wood filler to do that? What makes it possible for you to use a water-based product on top of wood is simply the fact that we put bin. It's a miracle sealer, okay, please. Without it, we would be hard pressed to find another product. There are some products that cover wood. For example, Zinsser 123 claims that it covers wood. Now, would I trust it for something like this, for a paid installation, and cross my fingers that the wallpaper is not going to come off? I wouldn't trust it, I have to tell you. Bin primer. So this is the second patch over the seam. And as you can see, without the use of tape or mesh, I've treated the birch plywood seam the way I would treat a sheetrock seam, at least with regard to finishing. So I feathered it out, 15 inches on each side. You can't see, it's drying over there, so just the center is wet, but it's really good. Same thing down there, waiting for that to dry. And we have a boo-boo here, so we have to wait for that and babysit it. But with the use of a fan, we will literally cut the drying time in half. So let's get to that. So sometimes we like to expedite by putting the blower right up to the job so we can get home while the sun is still out. Now, when you wallpaper over this, you can't tell that this is wood. Not at all. The point of contact between the substrate and your wallpaper is a layer of impenetrable bin primer. That's what I love about this stuff. We're turning a wooden wall into a sheetrock wall. Look at that. That wood is contained. I hit it with 2 coats. That's not going to give us a problem now, okay? Now let's say, and I've seen this done in a church, let's say you built a wall with wood instead of sheetrock. For some reason, I saw somebody do it. I have no idea why he did it. You could, instead of wasting the expense of having purchased plywood, you could prime it with this bin and then skim coat it and get rid of anything that resembles the wood in it. For example, if I were not going to be wallpapering over this, you wouldn't want to see these lines, right? You wouldn't want to see that. There's a simple way to get rid of them now. You skim coat over it, like I did here. Come on, look at that. It looks like finished sheetrock there, look. We're just waiting for it to dry. So we put up our first sheet. Two considerations. One, for the do-it-yourselfer, just check with your spouse if they're okay with this being up and this being the bottom. This is an abstract design, don't you agree? And so somebody might have a preference that this line doesn't start so close to the wall. Believe it or not, it's a consideration. Okay, so I just asked the homeowner, hey, do you like it? He said yes. So, what do we do for the do-it-yourselfer? How do we make this straight? Well, my friends across the Atlantic love the plumb bob, the string. I honestly, I would like one of them to show me how to use it. I used it when I was, a kid, like 18, 19. I bought my first house when I was 23. I used one. The thing wouldn't stop moving. Like I wanted to put something right on the floor below the light, and I hung it from the light to the floor, and wouldn't stop moving. So I'm like, I don't like this thing. Anyway, I have one, I just don't use it. But anyway, for the do-it-yourselfer, you want to make sure that, don't assume that the wall is perfectly straight. Just please don't assume that. Or you might be hanging it on an angle. Look at that, that's an angle. You may not see it in the camera, but that wall, yes, you're seeing it, that's an angle. So you want to go off of something that is objectively plumb. This is the only thing that's objectively plumb right here. But the wall, believe it or not, was straight. So I just checked it and I'm straight. Okay, so that's my first piece. Second consideration is this for the do-it-yourselfer. I'm waiting on that to dry. So I'm kind of taking my time getting over there. But if you take a break, you take a dinner break or a lunch break, you see what we just hung here? If you're going to take a break, either overnight or whatever, you want to wash this down right near the edge. If you have any glue, it's going to raise this piece that comes right next to here. This piece will be raised up and you'll see the edge. Like you can see my fingernail there. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And that's the only thing I have to suggest to you. So, we'll hang the next sheet. Okay, so our first piece is installed. By the way, I'm going to put a link to this wall covering that was purchased at www.wallpaperboulevard.com, which is located in Tampa, Florida, but it's an international company that will sell you your wallpaper online and have it to you quite expeditiously. Their lead times are quite quick, which is surprising with the pandemic that's going on. What you're looking at is a pattern drop match. Now, on one of my previous videos, I explained that you need 2 sheets of wall covering from 2 different rolls when you're doing a drop match. But I didn't explain it well enough. I didn't explain the why. Okay, you see that knot in the wood there? Let's look directly across it. Do you find it? No. So we know it's not a straight match, because if it were a straight match, all we'd have to do is go straight across to the next sheet. Look, this is the separation, by the way. If we went straight across the pattern, we would find that. That would be a straight match. If it were random, it wouldn't matter where you hung your next sheet. This knot could be here, the next one could be over here, the next one over there. But it's a drop match. So what does that mean? It means that there is a repeat in the pattern, which means that this knot will appear somewhere else on the roll of wallpaper. And there it is. Now, without measuring, I already know from experience that's 25 inches. Okay? So if it were a straight match, you know that the knot would be over there. And down here, the knot again would be on the next sheet right over there. But it's not. Why do they do drop matches? It makes your wallpaper more interesting. It's not cookie cutter. Do you know what I mean by that? You know that phrase? It's not like you can't detect the pattern so easily, okay? Now, with a drop match, you're gonna spend more money because you're gonna go through more waste. So you use 2 rolls of wallpaper. Why? Well, when you get down to the bottom of your first sheet, you slice it, right? If you use the same roll of wallpaper to put in this sheet of paper, you're gonna be pulling on that paper for quite a number of inches before you come up with this knot again. But with the other one, if you use the other roll of wallpaper, you will sooner come up with this knot on the other sheet than you do from the roll from which you took the first sheet. Therefore, when you have a drop match pattern, you take your A's or your odds, which is number 1, from your A roll, and your number 2 sheet or your B's or your even sheets from your even roll or your number 2 roll. You understand? Once again, when you have a drop match, take 2 rolls of wallpaper and set them aside. And the first sheet you take is called odd or number 1. And you hang that on the wall. The next sheet will come from your even number roll. Okay, it's really that simple. The reason why we do it is because you will find the repeat sooner on an alternating roll of wallpaper than you would if you took it from the same roll. So this is your drop match pattern. If you understand drop match from these 2 sheets, that's all you really need to know about drop match. What makes it a drop match? I left the top so you can see where the seam is. This divides sheet number 1 from sheet 2. This line right down here. See this black line? Right to the right of it is our seam. So we're looking for identifiable issues from one to the other. You see the knot right there? You don't see it right across here. So therefore we know it's not a straight match. It says it in the directions anyway. Drop match, straight match. But I want you to understand it. This knot repeats itself right there. So if you have a drop match, you can expect this knot to reappear on your second sheet, not straight across, but in the middle of these 2. So let's go right across from the middle of these 2 and find our knot. Now I want you to find the knot. You're going to look between this one and this one on sheet number 2. That's what makes it a drop match. This knot goes down, it drops. The pattern drops. If it were straight, it would be there, but it's not. It drops and drops down again, and so on and so forth. So, isn't it true that you could say that in a sense, a drop match is really just like a straight match? How's that? Well, every odd sheet you hang, number 1, number 3, number 5, are all going to have the knot at that level. And so we can expect on sheet number 3, the knot to be right here. Okay? So don't get confused about drop match. Treat it, make it easy for yourself. Think of it like a straight match. So a drop match is really a straight match every other sheet. So if you have a 4-foot level, then you're gonna find that knot. If you put our laser line, you're gonna find it over here. I wanna help you make your life easier so you're not going crazy. Drop match, straight match, no match, random, okay? So every 1, 3, 5, and consequently every 2, 4, 6, 8, they're all gonna look like the even sheet does. All across the room, your even sheets are going to look like this. What's ever here is gonna be on every other even sheet. What's ever here is gonna be on every odd sheet. 3, 5, right? So you understand. I'll just back up again so you can take it all in and apply what I said.